What's good? You're listening to Daniel and Gian talk shit. I am Gian.
And I'm Daniel.
Today, we're going to discuss the feature film It. It's a remake of the 1990...
1990, yeah.
The 1990 made-for-TV two-part miniseries It, based on the novel by Stephen King, also called It. The title has not changed at all since the book was written. I think it was written in the early 80s. So almost 40 years now. But
which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I mean, time flies. I feel like the character Pennywise, even if you didn't watch the movie, you know who Pennywise is. You know
I knew who it was, or Pennywise, but before going into this movie, no exposure to the story, no exposure to anything, period.
You just knew there was a clown.
Just knew there was a clown. That's it. And they terrorize kids.
Right.
Because, of course, what is a clown going to do but terrorize kids?
Exactly.
But literally that's it. Nothing else. Not a single damn thing.
Okay, so you went in without any sort of like...
Nothing. And the one trailer that we watched and we did a reaction.
So what about what was your expectations? What was your expectation level? Are you a fan of Stephen King in general?
Well, I haven't read his work, so I can't say. I'm a fan of his story ideas and the movies that I've seen that I've liked, that he had a part of in regards to writing the story of. Like, I like The Shining, but The Shining's a Stanley Kubrick movie. It's not a Stephen King.
Yeah.
I mean, even he dismissed the movie. But, other things like Stand By Me, that's Stephen King too, right?
Stand By Me, so, Pet Sematary.
I've never seen Pet Sematary, but I'm familiar with it.
The Green Mile.
Green Mile. Yeah, so these are things. Shawshank.
Shawshank is Stephen King.
Then
based on a
I have read
short
The Cell.
story.
I read The Cell. I take that back. The Cell's about a zombie. It's a zombie book, and it's like the zombies spread through cell phones.
Oh, is that like new?
Cell single. No, it's new-ish. Yeah, I've read that book. That's actually a good book. I like that book. But other than that, no. I the trailer. What my expectations were to be honest with you, I knew a lot of people liked it. I knew the tomato score, which could be good or bad for me going into the movie, but I didn't necessarily read anything about it.
Okay.
I didn't hear I saw some snippets because people had posted certain parts of the movie on Instagram or something, so I was aware of certain elements on a production standpoint. Like, there's the part at the very end. Oh, this is spoiler cast, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But
spoilers abound, folks.
The part at the end where he's dancing, where he actually dances for Bev.
Yeah.
I knew about that scene because someone posted a video about it and how they did it, which is actually pretty fucking cool, to be honest with you. So I don't know if you know. So when you saw, do you know what I'm talking about, right? The very end.
Yeah, the showdown at the end.
He does his little dance shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what they did to do that? To shoot it? Did it feel weird to you? Did it feel like what did you feel when you watched that?
I mean, there was weird motions and stuff. I felt like a
jitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason what happened is they tracked his face. So they basically, I don't know how they did the rig. I wanted to look it up before we did this review.
So they kept his face in focus while the rest of him.
Well, they just tracked his. Normally, there's a way where they dollied into his face.
Right.
So his face was on a gimbal. So
Got it.
whole world was moving around him, but not his face. So if you watch it, his face is centered and still.
Okay.
So everything is moving, and it gives you this weird feeling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shots. There's a lot of setups like that he.
I feel like they did that quite a bit in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't know anything about it. So.
Okay. So I read the book in high school. I remember people talking about it. I know there was a punk band called Pennywise, and I was wondering where that name came from. I think they're from Hermosa Beach.
I think so. That's how I'm gonna look it up.
But I think I was grounded. I didn't have TV or video game access.
So you had time to
so
read
I checked out
page book.
I checked out. Yeah, it was a fat fucking book. I checked out the book from
Hermosa Beach. Yeah.
From the high school library. They had it, surprisingly enough, and I read the shit out of it in 3 days. Used to be a time where I'd get into books and I couldn't put them down, and I just fucking just finish them in a day and a half, 3 days at the most, because I was just, everything I was doing, it was
that was never me.
No TV, no video games, nothing. I'm into this book. I'd stay up super late until my eyes started hurting and I couldn't fucking keep them open, finishing these books. And this book did that to me. So I was a fan of the book, and then I remember watching the miniseries renting it from Blockbuster because even though it was a TV miniseries, they put it out on VHS. Got it from Blockbuster. I watched it. The only thing I remember about that version is John Ritter was in it on the second half of the movie. So this movie, just like in the miniseries, it's only one half. It's a two-parter.
I do know that the second part, it deals with them as adults.
Yes.
That's all I know, though, and that's all I want to know. Exactly. I don't want to talk about that second part at all.
But that's what stands out. And I remember Tim Curry as the clown, as Pennywise. You know, I remember the scene where the little boy follows the boat into the.
Is that how the miniseries starts?
Yep, he follows the boat down, and then Pennywise is down there in the sewer.
Is it just as violent?
No, not even anywhere near that. So that was the first thing that jumped out to me was like, oh wow, okay, this is different. This is gonna definitely be. I mean, I was figuring it would be because it's rated R, not made for TV. But yeah, him opening his jaw up.
Is that more similar to the book?
I can't remember that. I can't remember. It's been so long since I read the book, so I feel like it wasn't that violent either. You know, but I might be wrong. It might have been.
It set the tone.
Yeah, definitely set the tone for a movie
or a scene for the movie.
For sure. And it's funny enough, when he comes out, it actually initially kind of bothered me because the actor is, I think he's Swedish or from Norway. He's definitely Scandinavian, and he still had an accent. And I was kind of asking myself why. You know,
that didn't bother me.
It bothered me like right off the bat. It took me out of it for a second because I just remember Tim Curry, and I figured.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's probably why it didn't bother me.
Well, not just that, but I figured the clown would be American, and this clown, like, you know, he was trying to sound American, but it didn't sound American. Like, he definitely had little tinges of words. The things that I did like about it though were like he had that moment where he pauses and his eyes just kind of go dead while he's talking to Georgie, and Georgie's like, okay, I need to get out of here. That was cool. That was a cool little moment for me because it was like Georgie was getting sucked in, and then he just stopped.
And then he realized, like, oh, this is not a nice clown.
Yeah, he's saying something's going on right now. Okay, mister, can I get my boat
back? Even though
he's
in the fucking sewer.
Right.
But it's a little kid,
well,
right?
He's 6 years old.
No, he's a little kid. How is he supposed to know?
And he was being manipulated. He smelled the sounds. He heard the sounds of the circus. He smelled the, you know.
Talking about popcorn and shit.
Yeah, the popcorn. Pop, 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 pop.
I mean, I have a lot to say, but I want you to front load it first with your impressions.
I mean, if we're just gonna go straight off the bat, like what I thought of the movie, I liked it. I really had a good time in the movie. I thought it had not super scary moments, but definitely some back of the hair, like neck of the hair raising moments. I thought it did a good suspense bit. You know, and this is just like those shock moments like that. You know, there was definitely stuff that I had issues with, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was able to sit down and have a pretty good time watching it. A text message I received from you at like 1 a.m. makes me think that you have a different opinion about it.
Yes, I did something I normally don't ever fucking do, which is text it in the movie theater. I texted. What I said to you specifically was this movie's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
And that was about 40 minutes into it, I'd say. About 40 minutes. And then by the time the movie ended, my opinions changed slightly. I mean, it changed. I liked it. I think it was fine. But the problems that I had are still problems. And at the end of the day, it's what's going to separate this movie from being a fun time to like this could actually be within the pantheon of like great horror movies. There's a lot of things I did like. I liked the kids. I thought their kids were fine. I thought the dialogue was funny. I thought their jokes were.
The kid part was my favorite part of the movie because even though it was a horror movie, it still felt like the Goonies. It still felt like
all the 80s, even though it was like a late 80s, early 90s movie, even though it doesn't hit the 90s, but it's still like
right. This is right there. It's on the cusp.
Right.
New Kids on the Block is featured in the movie, so that like it's definitely basically an early 90s movie.
But it still had that vibe. It still felt like all of those kids movies. It just now you add this horror element to it.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, for me, the stuff that bothered me was everything that wasn't the kids. I didn't find any of that shit scary, and actually to the point, like I was shaking my head to the unbelievability of a lot of the shit that was going on because it just didn't make sense. I'll just get into it. So the way the movie starts, he lures him in. You know, that all happens, right? Because it's all linked to the sewers and everything. I enjoyed that scene 100%. When he bit him into the arm, I'm like, okay, we're in for a ride. This is gonna be fucking different. Because again, I haven't experienced anything like from this before, so I'm like, okay. Is he going to terrorize kids? Is he going to kidnap kids? What's his whole game plan, right?
Right.
And then they introduce the fucking bullies. That was the first thing that I just fucking genuinely hated. I'm cool with them being rude and mean and stuff like that, but it got to the point where the dude was carving his name into the fat kid's stomach. That's too far. I just don't believe that.
That was in the book.
I don't care if it's in the book. I don't believe it. I'm sorry if it was in the book, then it's just there's a difference between putting it in a book and you imagine it in your own mind, and these are 100% made up, and then watching it on film when you're supposed to be purveying some sorts of realism. Because there's a magical realism to this movie, but they still try to keep it grounded as possible.
Yeah. Well, I actually said the same thing because growing up, I don't remember anyone being that fucking evil.
Ruthless.
I went to the movie with Patrick, and Patrick said that when he was growing up in Florida, there was all kinds of angry white kids like that. So that shit is real. So I think part of that has to do with you growing up in LA and me growing up in the Bay Area,
and just not being around
and
that?
not being exposed to people like that. But
if that's the case, then I'll retract that. But it just on a personal level. But I can see
why, like if you had you couldn't relate to it at all because it was just too extreme.
It was,
and I saw that as well because I was like, of all the baddest kids I knew. At that age, like he was probably 13, 14 years old. None of them.
I think he was 15. I think they're all 15.
But none of them were
that bad. I can get picking on and like licking the face and like punching them and beating them up and bullying them in that way. 100%. I can see that. But to go to the point where you're going to, even because one of his friends was like, hey, that's too far. But then the other guy was like, shut the fuck up. And they were all okay with it.
Right.
I can see being alpha for an extent. But then I know if I was friends with someone and we were just all, and then they went and did that, I would take a step back, even if I was in that and take a second thought about the whole
being friends with them.
And just really analyze the situation. Because, I mean, clearly he's fucked up, okay? And he was going to shoot a cat at the end of towards the end of the movie. Now, here's the thing.
He's a sociopath.
And exactly. But they introduced something very late in the movie, and if they would have introduced it earlier in the movie, it would have made everything make sense. Towards the end of the movie, when he kills his dad, that bad kid kills his dad, because basically Pennywise convinces him to do it.
Yeah.
They could have introduced that earlier. That maybe he's watching this shit, maybe he has some influence from that, and that's why he's so terrorizing.
Right.
But I'm kind of jumping the gun, but that was my first flag. Was like, okay, this is too, it was too jarring for me. Like just how extreme it was.
For me, it was a little over the top, but I remember it from the book, so that didn't.
So it kind of like suppressed it a little bit because it met your expectations.
Yeah, but like I said, I agree with you. I thought the same thing. Like, man, I don't remember any kids being this bad. Like,
It was to the point where it took me out. That's the big thing. It took me out, and that's the only thing. Like my biggest complaints through everything I'm going to bring up. There are moments that they just took me out, and that's the thing. It's not like they were necessarily bad, quote unquote, but they just took me out. They didn't fit. So, following the introduction of the bullies, you have like 3 or 4 scenes back to back. They're not 100% back to back, but there's not a lot of breathing room between them where you get the terrorizing, because they have to terrorize each kid. If the Jewish kid gets terrorized, the fat kid gets terrorized. Who else? Who am I missing? Someone else. There's someone else. Who am I missing?
The girl?
No. But in the earlier before the girl.
You got the kid from Stranger Things.
The black kid. The black kid gets terrorized.
The black kid they butcher, or they're the slaughterhouse.
Right. Which he kind of got introduced out of nowhere, and then kind of got added to the group, kind of like the fat kid. There's no real introduction to them. You kind of find out a little bit of backstory as it goes on.
That's funny. I might be wrong, but I feel like in the book, the black kid was in it, and there was a racial element, like they were calling him.
There is. So I read an article because the guy who directed the first season of True Detective, Cary Fukunaga, I don't remember. I don't know if that's his last name. I know it starts with an F, and I might have been butchering it. The one who did Sin Nombre. He also did the first season of True Detective.
I haven't watched any of those movies.
He was
or that show.
You've never seen Sin Nombre?
No.
Oh, that's a good movie. It's really good.
Doesn't it have?
He's an Asian American director from Oakland, and he made a movie about MS-13. Basically, it's fucking great. But anyway, so I was reading an article about it, and he was the original director. Basically, he had a creative vision for the movie, and the studios didn't want to do that. They wanted to mold the film into what it currently is, which is more sellable. They wanted to get the archetypes in order. And Carrie had no interest in doing that. He wanted to go in the backstory. He wanted to add the elements of the Ku Klux Klan because that's a part of it. It's a Klan-like thing, but it's not the Ku Klux Klan, but it's basically a thing. So the racial thing you said is on the nose. And it was going to be more extreme. That's the other thing. But they kind of toned it down. But he still has a writing credit on it. But anyway, my point is, in the beginning, Pennywise is set up as someone who's going to take the kid to float, right? Whatever the fuck that means. At that point, I had no idea what that meant. Right. But he took the kid. He ate the fucking kid and took him, okay? I assumed he killed him.
Yeah.
All right? But all the other shit, he's basically fucking playing around with them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. Like that's
at any point he could have fucking no manipulation.
That's definitely part of. There was no connective tissue. Like how was he able to? He was able to easily attack Georgie, but he wasn't able to easily attack the other kids.
Did he have to terrorize? Because that's what's unexplained. Like, do you have to scare someone to a certain extent?
I mean, even at the end of the movie, it talks about fear. Like fear is what gives him the strength. But he didn't really put fear into Georgie either. You know, he put a little bit of fear, but
he just straight up grabbed his ass.
Yeah, but exactly, he just grabbed him. So why wasn't he able to do that to the other?
I don't understand. Yeah. I just don't get it, and that to me, that's a flaw.
That's definitely that's a continuity error.
Because you think about the sick kid, the sickly kid. I loved him. That his character was great.
Right.
The mom though, I don't know. Like they put a fat suit on her or something. She just always, unless she was that fat, but she just stood out like a sore thumb every time she's on the screen. But anyway, there's that scene where he encounters like the guy with the leprosy or whatever, which I thought was a zombie. I feel like you saw like 15 zombies in this movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, he sees this person, and then Pennywise is literally looking at him with all the fucking balloons, and they're in the yard. At any point, he could have taken them, but he didn't. That's what I don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, there's a little.
Shit really bothered me.
It was missing some connective tissue. There's the other issue when he gets the bully in the sewer and he like raises the dead. We don't know what the bully was scared of per se. Like he was basically attacking everyone's fears. You know?
Correct.
So
he didn't seem afraid of anything. They just seemed to pop out and get him.
What was
He had the flame things, and then these fucking scary
they just
people
popped out.
But he wasn't afraid up until that point.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
No, exactly.
So there was an inconsistency there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to think like so the girl Beverly was scared of blood, I guess.
Well, that was her period. I'm assuming it was
period related.
It was, and then because in her hair, because it was like her hair, like she's afraid that someone's gonna judge her for her hair. I'm a woman now. I'm bleeding. Like,
right.
That's what I.
Well, that was also
from
because her dad was like a child molester,
exactly.
Which they alluded to, and they made it uncomfortable enough without being over the top. In the book, it's pretty over the top. Her dad being a fucking.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be an outlier. I kind of wish it was worse.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't like that shit.
I don't like it either. 100%. I don't like it. I'm gonna say that 100%. I don't like that shit either. But there's a reason why I'm gonna say that, because right now you have the cop dad, you have this other dad. They're all just archetypes. They're not human beings. They're not three-dimensional characters.
Yeah, well, it's not their story.
I understand that, but
they're like the parents in a Peanuts cartoon.
But I just let me put it this way. Nothing was being added to it. They were just fulfilling roles. Okay, he's the abusive sexual father. It's not like we haven't seen that in a movie before.
Right.
You know, but I haven't seen, I mean, obviously it has been done before, but I haven't seen a movie where there's a supernatural being terrorizing kids in this way. So if you're going to be different, be different. You know what I mean?
Well, Freddy terrorizes you in your dreams. So,
and it was different.
You know.
It was different. And then the new one, they tried to make him a child molester.
That would be the closest thing to Pennywise is Freddy Krueger, I think.
And he was a he's a child molester.
Okay.
That was his whole thing, is he molested children, and then they burned him.
Yeah.
They killed him.
I think he was a child molester in the first one too.
Okay, well then there you go.
The original.
But that's what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
They did it differently. They didn't have to show him molesting kids, right? Yeah. They framed it around that's why he died. But in this one it's like, okay, I just felt like going through the motions during those scenes. They were impactful, they were gross, they were disgusting. But maybe I don't
know how much more you want.
I was going to say maybe it's not that I wanted it to be worse, but maybe they've done it in a different way. I don't know.
I've felt creepy vibes from
I did
Pops
feel creepy,
right
but
away.
it's just like, I don't know.
And part of me also thought maybe he was a drunk, you know, so I don't know if he was if sexually abusive or physically abusive. It was, other than he kept saying, "You're my girl."
What I appreciate is what you just said. It was suggestive enough to where you don't know, and it's open ended. You can have a discussion at it. They didn't focus too much time on it, but they focused enough on it for you can have an impact. Okay, I will agree that was good. But what I'm just saying is, and maybe I fucked up by saying it should have been worse. It should have just been. There could have been a different way to do it, because apparently,
So you thought it was too cookie cutter?
Yes, that's my thing. And the article that I was reading about the director, apparently she's supposed to have a mom. There's supposed to be a mom involved. Like, there's more dynamics. But at the same time, the movie's not about adults. So, like, anytime an adult's involved, they're kind of, dismissive.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing, too. It's like, what's with this town? What is with this town that people are so okay with kids getting lost?
I mean, if that's the argument you want to make, you can make that about just about every horror movie. And if you wanted to stand apart from other horror movies, then I'll give you that. But that's a common trope in horror movies. People live in this fucked up town where like shit happens and everyone seems to turn a blind eye to it. Nightmare on Elm Street's like that. All this crazy shit's happening to the kids. It seems to happen every couple years, and everyone kind of just turns their back on it. It's
a lot of kids though that were floating.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because from my recollection, this is what he was doing in his period of time.
But it happens every 27 years.
Yeah, but these kids aren't from 27 years ago.
No, this is now.
That's what I'm saying. That's a lot of fucking kids.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids
in a small town.
Right.
It's not like it's in Los Angeles.
And they were they kind of tried to show that by throwing up the missing the first girl they mentioned, Carrie, whatever her name was. They brought her up, and I feel like there was other signs around that they didn't really pay attention to. Part of this could have been that they didn't have enough time or budget to really like jump into that. I don't know what the budget was on this movie.
30 million.
30 million. Well, there you go. It's relatively low budget.
Divided times 2, because I'm sure they put out the budget for the second one too. They probably had that in mind.
Yeah.
If you get it cheap, we can give you more money for the second one.
Right.
I'm just saying.
I mean, the CGI was pretty good for the most part.
For the most part, Again, my biggest takeaway is this. What was the movie with Johnny Depp when he was the gangster? Black Mass. All right. Okay, so the way I describe Black Mass is the movie has, if you pull out any scene from that movie and you throw it up to a film school class or anybody, you're like, that's a great scene. I want to watch this movie. And then you watch the rest of the movie, and it's a compilation of great scenes that don't know how to add up, right? Any scene from this movie is pretty fucking good. I mean, the way it was shot, the way it was choreographed, pretty much the way the acting was. There's only a few there were a few moments that fell flat due to the kids just being kids and not being fucking obviously the greatest actors in the world, but I overlooked that. But it's because of the inconsistencies that to me they didn't add up. That's my biggest thing, is it just doesn't add up. So when you take the movie universe as serious as it is, because this is a universe, right? This is a world you're creating for the screen.
Yeah.
It's the little things that I was able to suspend my disbelief that there's a fucking clown in the sewer right off the bat, right?
Obviously he's not a clown. He's something else.
But you don't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know that. I assumed that
I feel like the second you see him in the sewer, you know that's a supernatural being.
No. I'm going to disagree with you. The moment he opened his mouth and that it started doing the little alien thing, that's when I knew it was a supernatural being. Up until that point, I fucking thought Pennywise was a human being.
Have you ever looked in a fucking sewer?
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
You can't fit your head in a sewer, man. That's like...
That's what I'm saying. I suspended my disbelief for that already.
Okay.
And then he opens his mouth, which the whole first scene was cool.
You saw that the boat was moving strangely when he started running after the boat. Like, it just took off and went directly to this one sewer.
I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, man. For me, that was, something weird was going on right off the bat.
I've never fucking seen it. To me, it was just flowing with the current of the water.
You didn't notice that all of a sudden it just picked up in speed and took off?
If you want to talk about the fucking boat, I don't know what kids fucking wax paper boats and throw them down the street.
Hey, man.
With no parental fucking units around.
Hey, man. 1989, there was no internet. The video games, you had Nintendo, you had an NES. Your fucking cartridges didn't work half the time. Most families only had the one TV that you had to share. You know what I mean? And
life sucks.
And Bill was sick, man. Bill was sick. The dude, that's another. We could do a whole podcast about when I was a kid versus when you were a kid. When I was a kid, I used to fucking ride my bike until the fucking sun went down, and then I came home and nobody batted their eye about it. And now you can't do that.
I stayed out late.
You stayed.
I'd be in my complex, like my condominium complex. Like,
okay,
so it's a little different.
With some other little fucking kid, right?
Yeah, with other kids.
Yeah,
who lived in our condo.
Talk about riding around the entire city.
No, I know.
We used to go to a pool hall called the Great Entertainer, where there was drunks and fucking legit like scumbags playing pool and getting wasted, and we would go there because they had an arcade in the front of it.
I never did that.
You know,
for sure.
We play. The liquor stores used to have Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat in them, so we'd go and play.
I did play arcades though. I liked arcades. That was
at
fun.
A liquor store though.
No. I had different times. I get it. I'm not really. So hold on. Let's take a step back because it sounds like I'm being a real hater on it, and I did. When I texted
Sounds like to me.
When I texted you, I was not having a good time, 100%, because there was not enough time to relax.
So you felt like the tension was too high.
It was too high. Well, it got too high. It got so high.
So it felt like Black Swan to me.
Exactly, because you hated that, and I had no problem with Black Swan. But it's a thing that Spielberg always says: you have to have levity with your moments of tension, otherwise your tension's not going to work anymore. And I'd say that first 45 minutes. That's what it got to the point where I was like, okay, can he kill someone already? Can something fucking happen?
So it was too tense for you at the beginning, and then finally started.
Too tense, but not in the sense where I was like too afraid or anything. It just got overwhelming where I was just desensitized, and it didn't have an impact on me anymore.
See, I'd have to watch it again, but I thought they did a pretty good job with that. There was plenty of moments of levity. There was a kid from Stranger Things was always talking shit, making his little comments, you know.
But it was the inconsistency in Pennywise's whole thing that we already discussed. You know, how do you go from taking Georgie, and then
how do you change the way you view things? Because I feel like at a certain point you got to shut your brain off.
I did shut it off. I did.
And then you started enjoying it.
No. Well, because Beverly was introduced like more, and she became more, and then the movie slowed down and really started to get into the whole like backstory of everything. Because the fat kid was like, you know, being a creep and researching all this shit. But then they actually started to like make it like Stranger Things, where there actually is a plot now. Okay,
right.
Because prior to that, it was nothing. There was no plot. There was no direction. There was just they're living their lives and a bunch of creepy shit's happening.
Yeah,
which I understand. I get it. I'm not even saying that shit's wrong. I just want there to be more consistency, or maybe more of an explanation by the end of the movie that explains why he wasn't able to take certain people or whatever. Yeah. Let's focus on Beverly for a second. She cuts her hair. She has that whole scene with the whole with the tape measure and shit, and then the hair, the blood, everything comes out, right? And then the dad she escapes. She doesn't get pulled in. She's able to survive all that whole interaction, right?
Yeah.
Dad comes in, doesn't see the blood. She's covered in blood. Okay, that didn't bother me. I get it. That showed without saying anything that the adults can't see it.
Yeah.
Kids can. Cool. With it 100%. Cut to later on in the movie when she finally confronts her father, when she should be theoretically at her like she's not afraid anymore because she did something. From a character standpoint, from a human standpoint, she'd be afraid because you just fucking knocked someone out with the toilet bowl, right? So you'd be afraid for your life.
Yeah.
But Pennywise just takes her. After he knocks her out, she goes to walk out of the bathroom, and Pennywise takes her, and then all of a sudden she's floating. It's shit like that really fucking bothered me.
She wasn't floating right away.
She did, but the point that it's irrelevant when she was floating. I'm talking about him taking her when he chose to. So he was just fucking with these kids. That's what I don't understand his end game. I don't get it.
I get what you're saying. I mean, he eats kids, and that's.
But he wasn't eating. If he wanted to eat,
we don't see him eating the kids, but that's explained. Like him murdering the children.
Well, then why wasn't he murdering the kids?
Keeps him alive.
You can argue that. Well, you wouldn't have a fucking movie if you just ate everybody.
Well, no, I mean,
but it's like
that's
okay.
part of it. But I'm with you. I think I would agreed about that. Like there was inconsistent on where, the hows, whens, and where he could kill you, and it felt like.
I'm not even talking about killing. I'm talking about taking.
Well, I felt like his power was rooted, and this kind of bothered me too, like his power was rooted close to the sewer. So him coming through the drain made sense.
100%.
Him being in the basement when it was flooded made sense.
100%.
Him being at the fucking at the
library.
At the library didn't make so much sense.
Well, I think the library was along the sewer line. I think they mapped that out. I think right. That would be my guess. I think the synagogue was also. But I don't know. Well,
they didn't explain that. I'm saying maybe they were, but they definitely didn't explain that. And that kind of, I get where it would frustrate or just kind of be like, this doesn't make sense. But I still look past it. I just thought like, okay, whatever. Well,
here's another thing that I couldn't.
I feel like they focus more on making him scary and him doing scary shit.
Which I said, if you pull the scene out from any of these things, they're all effective. Yeah. They all work.
Yeah.
It's just when you start to question and you put it all together, it's like, okay, because I did not go into this movie to try and judge. I didn't go into this movie to try and like.
I don't fucking believe you.
I really didn't. I 100% did not do that.
I think you're not a fan of Andy Muschietti.
The director?
Yeah.
He did Mama.
I know.
Have you seen Mama?
Nope.
Oh, well then there you go. But point is, there's just moments that took me out. It's not that the content was bad. It's just. I don't know if it was the setup or they took liberties in not explaining certain things. Not saying that everything needed to be explained, but the certain motivations. Because obviously the kids are speculating. We don't know truly why Pennywise does what he does because he doesn't say.
We'll learn in the next movie.
I'm sure. But things like Beverly coming out of the floating because fat kid kissed her.
That was weird.
It made no fucking sense. I get why like it's a moment of levity, like because it's not what you'd expect and all this shit. But okay. So
it's the glorification of date rape,
kind of, because she didn't ask for it and he just did it. But I'm not even going at it from that angle though. But it's just like, so does love take you out of floating? I'm being dead fucking serious.
Well, she was also in a different state of floating. All those other kids floating were.
Do we know that?
Dead.
Do we know that though?
I mean, we don't know, but we do know
she wasn't all the way up at the top.
And
but
Georgie's arm was like she was at the very bottom and didn't go up. The other kids were all the way up there. We know Georgie's arm was gone, and at the very least, he bled out.
Maybe. I assumed he's dead. I don't. But I'm just. My point is though, that's a moment where I understand where it would be funny, and you'd like release the tension a little bit right there. That's a moment you release tension right there.
Yeah.
Because now the girl's back into the group. Is that the best way to fucking do it though?
How would you have done it?
I don't know. I
mean, it's kind of a Sleeping Beauty moment. There's a.
But she likes the other guy.
This is me assuming shit right here, but there's like themes of innocence and like losing your innocence in this movie, and I'm sure that's going to be brought up in the second part when they go back and fight him again as adults. Where having that innocence was a strength for them. That now is gone, and that I feel like that was part of it.
And if that's the case, if the second one
it
comes
might be
out,
the second one, it might be a case of quantum of solace for you, where when you watch the second one, you watch them together.
And if that happens, I'll own up to it, and I'll admit it that I was.
And I'm going to say that because I know how it ends and I know the whole story. Obviously, my opinion on it is a little bit different. You have no connection to it at all.
I don't.
So it's a little different. I'll give you that much. But I don't know. I feel like.
But okay.
I want to say that you had time to like really start thinking about it and pick it apart, but you were already picking it apart when you were in the theater. So
because I did stop when I texted and then they started to explain because up until what bothered me, and again I'm gonna say it, up until that point there was no story. There was a lot of events happening, but there was no through line. Okay, there was a lot of setup, but I didn't even. Well, it didn't feel like setup at all. It just felt like a bunch of shit happening.
The story was Bill's the lead. This is his movie.
100%.
His brother's gone. He's trying to find his brother.
Yes.
While that happens, all this other crazy shit starts happening to other people in the town as well.
They're not telling each other these things. There's a lot of things.
They have that moment where they tell each other like
later.
Yeah.
After everyone basically has gone through some shit. I'm not hating on that. It's just for me it's Pennywise 100%. Yeah. If I'm gonna put it down to one thing, it's Pennywise and his motivation. That's what I don't get.
Pennywise was too disconjointed for you.
That's really what it is. That's really because like all of my other complaints are kind of broad strokes about other things, but at the end of the day it all comes down to Pennywise, motivations, explaining the universe in terms of like what he's allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do, and a lot of the things seem kind of convenient for plot. Not a lot of things, but certain things at certain points felt convenient for plot.
Yeah.
Like Pennywise decided to terrorize the teenager kid, you know, at the very end, so he can kill the dad, just so he can go and like fight the black kid.
No. See, that makes sense to me.
Explain it.
Okay, so he goes after the kid because they already had a group interaction with him. They already had a fight with him. And he realizes when these kids are together, they have power that I can't overcome. So to circumvent that power, he's like, oh shit, there's this fucking sociopath kid down the street. I can manipulate him to take care of my dirty work for me. Because obviously it feels like there's one, he's either trying to get them one at a time, or he's trying to, take out as many as he can. Because they're the only kids in town that figured out what's going on. No one else seems to know what's going on. It's because George figured out there's something. The fat kid figured out
a long ass time ago.
That 27 years ago, this seems to happen every time, and that something to do with that fucking that cistern that was the well that was inside that abandoned house. So because they're the only kids that know, and they kind of figured out there's a way to take him out.
They're the problems they need to get dealt with.
And he knows now when they're together, he can't defeat them, so he recruits someone else to take care of his dirty work, and that's why he goes after and has the bully kid go.
Which makes me fucking fear for the second movie, because this movie ended on a positive note, and if anybody's familiar with storytelling, which I am, that means people are gonna fucking die at the end of the movie, and I'm not even looking at you right now because I don't want any sort of facial recognition as to like what's going to come, but just in terms of conventional filmmaking, the story structure, the if this is the midpoint of the fucking story, and the heroes won, that means the heroes are going to lose at the end.
Well, they're going back to Derry. So
right. But I don't know.
Shit's going to happen.
But my counter to what you just said about I buy everything you just said. I buy it 100%. I believe it. Okay, my question is, why do I need to bring a gun?
The kid?
Yeah. He just killed his dad. He just killed his dad.
He didn't kill him
with
the dad, though. He killed him with the knife.
Yeah, but he was just shooting the gun a few scenes prior.
That's a good question, man.
He just killed the dad. The dad was still in fucking uniform. He knew where the gun was, obviously.
Well, he was also not. You could tell when Pennywise took over, he wasn't completely there mentally.
I'm just saying.
He was kind of in a trance. When he kills his dad, I don't think he kills his dad if he's not in Pennywise's trance.
Okay, so if my manipulation's a thing, then why weren't the other kids getting manipulated? Again, it comes down to Pennywise. I keep bringing it now. Now I'm honed in.
It's character. They were able to overcome his manipulations.
Okay, but they didn't have. But what? That's just the thing. Like, I could just continue to fight for the fat kid in the library, man. He was scared as fuck. Why even make him run? Why even toy with him?
And the librarian saved him. If the librarian doesn't show up, that kid's done.
100%.
Yeah.
But why even toy with him?
Because he's figuring out. He's reading all this shit, and he's learning about who.
No.
That Pennywise even exists. It exists.
Let me clarify. I don't mean like that. Why not just take him right there? You already lured him down to the basement, right? You
mean fucking with him instead of just grabbing him?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm with you. I said I know.
I keep bringing it back. It's
bringing it back. But then this is where I play the fucking. Then you don't have a movie card, man. If you think it could have been done better, I'm with you. They could have done stuff better, but we don't know the circumstances behind it. Like you said, the original script was changed. We don't know how much time they had to film this.
Why not make it like Alien?
I don't know,
Aliens, man. I mean, where the people that you were with, they get picked off, and then they get cocooned.
Because it was about the group dynamic, man. I think I said already. What sets us apart from other horror movies is that it's got that Goonies, the
Losers Club.
Yeah, it's got that feel.
So then lose some of them. Lose the black kid. No, I'm serious, because clearly the main core is the main kids.
So now, this is going into a different territory now. But now it's like if if some of the members would have died, you'd feel better.
No.
About the movie.
No. That's why I'm saying make it like Aliens.
We don't know why Pennywise. Like I said, it's inconsistent. I'm with you. It wasn't inconsistent enough to affect my opinion on the movie. Do I think it's the greatest movie ever told? No, but it was a good movie, and to be honest with you, it's one of the better horror movies I've seen in the last few years. For me.
It also wasn't scary.
Well, that's debatable. It might not have scared you. It might have scared other people. Nothing scares me now that I watch it. Nothing scares me at all. Every so often a pop-up might get me like, it doesn't scare me.
I jumped when the black kid was at the butcher shop, or he was going to deliver the meat, and then the fucking door slammed. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, there's jumps like that, but like, come on, like what?
I don't know.
When was the last time a movie scared you, where like you kept thinking about it and you had a nightmare about it or something like that?
Well, I think
as an adult, or even as a teenager.
Nothing.
Yeah, man. I mean, what was the last scary movie?
The Conjuring.
You've seen? I didn't think that was scary.
I didn't think it was scary, but the jump scares were good.
Okay, the jump scares.
Paranormal Activity. Paranormal Activity.
That scared you?
I'm gonna be real, and it pissed me the fuck off because did you see Paranormal Activity?
No.
So the genius of Paranormal Activity, the first one, not of the other ones, but the first one.
It's a found footage movie. I don't fuck with those.
Not only that, but the way they set it up like it was going to be a scary movie, and the trailers and everything like that, and they hyped the shit out of it, and they did a good job. They got me to buy the ticket. But nothing happens in that movie. The people die at the very end.
Yeah.
And I mean literally at the very end. The last like fucking 30 seconds of the movie is when you actually like see whatever it is. But it's just set up around jump scares. And that movie was really unnerving because of that. Because they set it up very well. Okay. Now, why am I bringing up Paranormal Activity? Why am I bringing all this stuff up? It's just because of moments like the scene with the projector thing.
Okay.
Right? So, the slide projector. I love the setup for that. I love how they keep seeing him, and every time it keeps sliding, and it gets... What I didn't care for was when he came out of the fucking screen, and he was like 500 feet tall. And he was like size of the whole garage. It felt cartoonish to me.
Okay.
It's not the CGI. It's just, this is how I thought about it after the movie. It's not that he came out of the screen that was bothering me. It's not that he was 800 feet tall, the size of the garage, like I just said. It's not that. It comes back down to the Pennywise thing. What is he capable of? If they're not afraid of him, he's harmless. If he's afraid, then they can hurt him. Then he can hurt them.
It goes back to your issue. It's just
they open the garage door, and now there's light, and now he's gone. Like,
we get it. He's not well defined. His powers are not like explained enough in the universe. We don't know what he can and can't do.
Other than that, though, I like the movie.
Okay.
Other than that,
okay.
Oh, and the fact that when the kids came down from when they were floating, what happened to all them?
Oh, I think they were dead.
Yeah, but did they go tell their parents? Did they go like they kind of just left it there? Like, well, we don't know if they're dead, but that's the thing.
I was half expecting something to happen with that, but
that's because and that's a story thing that has nothing to do with Pennywise. Yeah. That's just a straight up like, okay, they discovered his lair, right? Indisputably, they found this guy. They fought Pennywise. They beat him up. They did all that other shit, right? And then they cut to like a few months later, they're in the meadow, and everything seems to be fine.
And they could have tied it together with their parents, because 27 years ago, let's say they had their kids at 27 or 28. They were teenagers when the shit happened the last time,
right?
Unless they're all people that just moved to the town or something, like the chubby kid just moved to the town,
right?
We don't know how many generations these people were in this city of Derry. So there's that part. I mean, they could have tied it together that way, like the parents knew something was up. And
I think the best way for me to summarize it is they nailed the world of the children that we followed in terms of their world,
the immediate world, but they didn't nail
the
rest of
macro
the
world.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if people care. And is this me nitpicking? Yes and no, because I could totally turn my brain off and say that. But at the same time, we don't live in that world. You have to be able to fucking look at something, and you just have to say, okay, some things work, some things didn't. I would watch this movie again. I'm not dissatisfied that I paid my money for it. Like I said, if the movie continued on the trend when I texted you, I would have fucking hated it 100%.
Yeah.
But it saved itself. It righted itself. It actually started to explain a little bit more, and it started to, but why are we afraid of this painting? Okay. In my mind, I'm thinking this when I first saw it, right? Like, what is this painting? Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell does this have to do with, why isn't it Pennywise? Okay. And then you find out that it's the forms, and I totally understand what it's like to be a little kid, and you see this painting, it scares the shit out of you. I get it. I understand, like, each one of their situations, the fear part of it. I understand all that 100%. I really enjoyed it because...
Although the fear for the black kid and the fear for Bill were two completely different things, you know.
What do you mean?
Well, the black kid's fear wasn't that he was scared of something. It was like just watching his parents, that he wasn't able to help his parents. So that was his fear, like watching his parents die again. And then Bill's fear was trying to find Georgie.
Right.
You know, they weren't necessarily fears per se, as much as the kid is definitely, one kid is definitely a fucking hypochondriac because of his mom.
Right.
The other kid is definitely scared of that painting. Beverly's scared of her dad and scared of getting her period because now she's a woman.
She's a woman, and that obviously is going to affect the relationship with the dad.
And the chubby kid, we don't know what he's scared of either, you know? So
being in the basement?
Something. So, I mean, those are valid concerns. That was something else I thought about as well. You know, they were like...
And then are these the only kids that are afraid?
But that also might explain why he wasn't able to snatch Bill, you know, because he's not scared. He
could have snatched the other kid, though.
He could have snatched the other kid. But the kid got away. He almost snatched him, and he got away. He got through that fence.
But at any point, he could have, though. That's what I'm like. That's again, we keep going back to the same thing.
But like this is thinking too much about it. I think this is breaking it down way too much. You know, and I'm with you. Like you said, if you break it down scene by scene, you got some great scenes in there. But there's missing a slight connective tissue.
Where's the fat kid's parents? The fat kid got literally Not only did the fat motherfucker get an H carved into his stomach and roll down a fucking hill and then run across the other shit. Man, first of all, if you fucking carved me up, I'd be just, I don't know. Let alone run away. But, okay, I bought it. I didn't even question that. I blamed the bully being the reason why I was taken out of the scene more than him, you know, running away or anything. But...
I mean, we don't see the girl who disappears in Stranger Things mom until the very end of the movie. You know.
Sure.
Remember everybody complained about that in Stranger Things.
But hold on.
What was her name?
Oh, Winona Ryder?
No. The girl.
Oh, 13 or L?
No, the girl that's
11?
No, the girl that gets lost.
Oh,
that gets sucked into the pool. With the glasses.
Yeah, I was gonna say Beverly. Pam? No, what is it?
Like Peg or something like that.
I know what you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. People who are listening are gonna know. When Pennywise guts him, and they literally show up to the hypochondriac's their mom's house, and they're all fucked up. He's literally sliced.
Yeah.
Bleeding. His shirt is bleeding. I mean, his shirt is torn open. Blood's coming out. And the mom just cares about, oh, you kids are da-da-da-da-da. I can kind of see how a parent could be so, like, oblivious to everything else.
Yeah.
But where's his fucking parents? The fat kid's parents.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that the parent's not going to see that and be like, oh, you kids.
Hey, we didn't see Stranger Things parents either.
Okay, but I'm thinking about this shit because... Pennywise is clearly able to physically damage these people. 100%. No bullshit. There's clearly, you know, he goes into our world and he's able to do this shit. But where's the outcome? I expected when Beverly cut her hair off, I expected ramifications for that.
Yeah.
Dad didn't seem to care. You know, no one seemed to care. I'm not saying that I needed more violence, I needed more whatever. It's just the movie did a very good job of setting up the world in regards to what is real and what is not real, expectations, and then when you start throwing curveballs like that, am I just supposed to suspend my disbelief for everything?
I just don't know if those curveballs are that big to get worried about them. That's just me. I mean, I did want to mention one thing. There's, for me, what I thought was an iconic scene in the book and in the miniseries was, man, I wish I knew these kids' name, but the hypochondriac kid. He gets picked up by Pennywise while they're in their final battle, and he sprays him.
He vomits on him?
No, he sprays him with his inhaler.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Because in the book and in the miniseries, he finds out that his inhaler is just water. It's just water and sodium. So he thought he had asthma, and he's always using his puffer. It's never pills. And then maybe they just want to do like a sign of the times. I didn't think they needed to change that, but he was always sucking on his inhaler. And the pharmacist says, "You're fine."
Yeah, the girl said...
It wasn't a little girl being a fucking bully. It was a farmer saying, "You're fine. You don't need it. It's just water." And that's when he gets pissed off at his mom. But he uses the inhaler against it. Like I feel like for me, it's an iconic scene. Like it picks him up off the ground and he sprays him in the face with the inhaler, and the inhaler fucking like damages.
He's not good against water.
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure you can tell me. I don't want you to tell me.
But that was like, for me, that was like a cool scene that they could have recreated, done something different with it. I don't know why they changed the inhaler to a fucking thing, a box of pills.
I mean, he had an inhaler.
Well, he had everything, but he had his main thing was that box of pills he had, which for me was like too much of an update because people having pill habits is now.
Right.
In 1989, that wasn't a thing.
Right. I mean, yeah, no, I didn't. Obviously, I didn't know about that. No,
that's just a little thing like that. Like I not that it was a good or bad thing. I just didn't, I didn't understand why. There's some scenes that you could reuse. Like people always reuse when they do a reboot. They always copy at least
because it's good.
Yeah.
Why?
Right. Exactly.
Why fix it if it ain't broke?
And I don't even know if that's iconic for everyone else, but for me, that's a scene that stood out. So
obviously enough for you to remember it and for you to miss it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I thought about it. Like I said, I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed the jokes. I enjoyed that they went with the humor and they made fucking dick jokes and shit jokes and pussy jokes and whatever else jokes you want to add in there.
I mean, I definitely like that they made it in 1989 and they didn't make it now with fucking.
Well, they're what, 13?
They're 13 to 15 years old.
But they made them like 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
This is how 13-year-olds act.
Absolutely.
100%. If
Making
you're gonna
stupid jokes.
If you're gonna sit there, like Stranger Things was cool because they're kids. But you make them 13, they're going to swear.
Yeah.
Kids swear. Kids because they're fucking basically little adults who just don't know any better.
I've been swearing since the 3rd grade.
But what I just want to finish on is there's one thing that I know, and I only know about it because I read the fucking article about what could have been Carrie's version of the movie.
I hate when you do that.
Well, I was just curious.
You did it with Ant-Man, and now you're going to do it with It.
I haven't done it with Ant-Man. I haven't seen Ant-Man. I don't know what the difference between Edgar Wright version is.
You haven't seen Ant-Man because you wanted to see the Edgar Wright version. So like you're kind of lightweight that with this.
This is more of just being curious as to like what's like. I know there's a director's cut coming out for this. There's a 2.5-hour director's cut of this movie coming out. So like there's also other scenes that they cut out. So maybe if I watch the director's cut, maybe they explain a little bit more, and I have no problems at all because that's happened to me with director's cuts before.
Right.
Like Troy, I fucking love the director's cut. It's one of my favorite movies.
Well, you
ever.
like long movies too.
I do, but the original cut, I didn't care for it very much. But Troy, there's a whole scene at the very end where they show the sacking of Troy, which wasn't even in the fucking movie, the original one. But anyway. The one thing I do know about is that this connects to like Dark Tower and shit like that. And I only know this for 2 reasons. One, because it's mentioned in the article, but the other reason is because when Dark Tower was coming out,
I still haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either. But they did a promotional. There was a fucking spoiler clickbait headline. Is it gonna connect to Dark Tower? Will the turtle be in and I'm like, what the fuck is a turtle? That's what I'm thinking. What the fuck is a turtle? Okay. So I found out that apparently from this spoiler article that I read that I had no idea what I probably shouldn't have read, but it is what it is now. I know, and I knew going into it that Pennywise was something else, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is prior to the movie.
Yeah.
When I went into this movie, I had no expectations. But I knew that Pennywise in the book and in the miniseries was this version of it. So like when I said earlier that when he went down, when I saw this clown in the thing, I thought he was a clown because I had no idea of the story.
Uh-huh.
So apparently Pennywise is the antithesis of a turtle. I don't know if it's an actual fucking turtle, but that's what they call it in the books. And this turtle is... Do you know any of what I'm talking about right now?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. Well, this is all true. This is a part because apparently Stephen King's books are connected. So the whole Dark Tower, and I haven't seen the movie, haven't seen the books, but from my frame of mind, what I remember is there's a certain thing that holds humanity together, keeps it together, it keeps the Dark Tower from whatever the fuck, I don't know, whatever that, and it's this turtle. Okay. And the turtle's nice to humans. The turtle's nice to all this shit.
So the turtle is Jesus.
Exactly.
And it is the devil.
Yes. And it is the antithesis of the turtle. And they actually fight each other. And they've made mention in interviews that the turtle is a part of this, whatever the fucking sequel is. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know anything because this version is supposed to be more.
I mean, it might have been in the book, and like I said, it's been so long since I read it.
There's two turtle references in this movie.
I don't remember that.
They're in the quarry. They're swimming, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's a turtle," and then they all look at the turtle. We don't see the turtle, but there's one reference, and then there's an actual scene where what's his name, Bill, has a fucking Lego turtle, and he's walking around with it, and he drops it. That's a Lego.
Well, it was Georgie's Lego turtle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But those are little Easter eggs. Now, I only bring that up because I want to ask, do you think if the movie goes beyond the world it's set up right now and then goes into this other connective universe where Dark Tower elements are going to come in, and I don't even know if it's a real turtle, if the motherfucker's just named Turtle, but if it starts
going... It's a guy from Entourage.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it, but like, do you feel like that would really push your disbelief to a point where it's just, that's too far?
I'd have to watch Dark Tower, but the box office numbers that it makes, I don't think that's going to be
a series.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a thing where they can connect it anymore.
Well, I don't know if this turtle was in Dark Tower.
Right. I don't know. I'd have to do my research on this whole turtle theory because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to end the podcast on this one thing. This movie did scare me, and it scared me not because of Pennywise or the town or kids dying, but it really scared me about me being a new dad and having to deal with fucking bullies and my fucking kid. Like, how am I going to deal with this shit? How am I going to handle kids like that? Because there's always going to be some punk kid out there. Is my kid going to be the bully? And how do I deal with my kid if he's the bully? You know what I mean?
No,
and now I'm kind of like, now I kind of understand why there's a bunch of helicopter parents out there who are fucking wrapping their kids in bubble wrap and not letting them do anything. Because it's like, this is nuts, man.
It's protection.
There's kids out there who, I mean, I was a dickhead, so maybe I was
mean as a kid. I think I'm just now realizing that I was mean as a kid.
You think you hurt people's feelings, like you made them cry?
I was never the instigator, but I was never the person to say stop.
Right.
I might join in or I might stay silent, which could be just as bad.
This reminds me, there was a kid that showed up third grade. His name was Michael. They moved in. I don't know where the fuck they moved from, but he smelled like shit. He was the stinky kid. And I had a big mouth, and I called him fucking the stinky kid. I had a different name for him. I remember on fourth grade, he ended up on my Little League team. And he told his mom that I was a kid that was like...
calling him stinky kid?
And his mom like came up. I remember his mom come up to me and she was like, blah, 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 you call my kid this. Like, got really defensive. And I'm thinking, like, am I going to do that to a 10-year-old kid? Like, I would never fucking fight a 10-year-old kid. If anything, I would go and talk to the parents.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did it change your behavior?
No.
Did you call him a stinky kid after that?
Fuck yeah, I did.
Okay, because I was going to say...
It made it fucking worse.
Okay,
and it was like, dude, like, you gotta be careful with this shit. Not only that, but like, what were you... Now that I'm thinking about it, like, years...
But you remember it, though.
Oh, definitely.
It stands out.
Because I remember, like, years later, like, your kid stinks because of you. Your kid got picked on and got made fun of because you're a shitty parent. You didn't fucking make sure your kid smelled good. You didn't make sure your kid took a shower before he went to fucking... He might have been paying the bed, And that sucks. Kids have pee to bed. They have an issue with that. But if your kid pees to bed, make that motherfucker take a shower in the morning and get that pee smell off of him. Or if he shits his fucking pants, make sure he fucking washes his ass before he goes. It's just all kinds of things like that. You shouldn't expect fucking people to be nice to your kid when you set them up for failure.
I feel like this is you getting mad at that mom for yelling at you.
Fuck yeah, man. This scarred me. I'm fucking if you ever listen to this, I don't want to say names, but
let me ask you one question because you brought up kids. What would be the appropriate age to take your son or anybody, a kid, to this movie? To this one, not just this specific.
This one specific, I think 13.
In the theater.
I think once your balls are dropping, your hormones are changing,
If you're 8 or younger.
No. Absolutely fucking not.
I had a family, I'm going to assume they're Mexican. They were brown, so I don't know, but they were brown. 3 brown folk in front of me. A dad, a mom, I'm assuming, and then a little boy. I would say 8. I don't know, but I would say 8. And I was just like,
why the fuck did the movie theater let them in? That's the one thing. I've been at theaters,
they're adults.
But I've been at theaters where they're like, no, you can't take your kid into this movie. I've seen it happen.
Maybe they said he was older. I don't know. Maybe he was 13.
It's a rated R movie.
Maybe he was 13, but he looked 8. I don't know. Point is, he was okay, but I was just like, man, when I saw fucking Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street when I was like 5 or 6 years old, that movie gave me nightmares for years.
Yeah.
100%. It's actually probably because of that movie that I'm so desensitized to a lot of horror movies, because I legitimately had nightmares for years. Right. Like, not even fucking a joke.
Hey, man, it could be one of my ex-girlfriends. Her mom loved horror movies, and her brother and her 2 brothers, they grew up as little kids watching every single 80s horror movie. Every single one of them. And, yeah, man, they're just like that. Like, I guess if you tell your kids...
The kid was asking, "Are clowns really evil?" They
didn't let his kids know that fucking.
He's like, "No,
they're fake."
He said clowns are real, but this one's fake.
Yeah.
But they're like, "Yeah, but I've seen clowns." Like, this is what they're talking about as the credits, because I stayed through the credits because there's a little teaser at the end. But
yeah, Patrick has an app that tells you what happens at the end, and then it makes you figure out if it's worth it or not.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't, because it's just the music, right?
It's just the music, and then he laughs.
Yeah.
But at the end of I just stayed anyway because I was just like, well, whatever. Right. But it was just, I don't know. I just feel like it was weird. Like when my parents didn't let me, they weren't going to let me watch this but I thought me and my cousins, we thought, oh, we were tough kids. We can handle it. And they all warned us, you're not going to like it, blah, blah, blah. And then sure enough, they were right. Like we got it and we watched it. And it was just, pff.
Hey man, I am completely with you on that. I thought
it was too young.
Yeah, he's definitely too young. 8 is too young. 13 might be too young. I mean, definitely. I think once you hit high school age, then all bets are off. Because by that time,
you're old enough.
I hope you're 15. You don't still believe in Santa. You know what I mean? Like that's really the key. That's how you know your kid's ready or not. Does your kid believe in Santa and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy? If he still believes in that, then he shouldn't go to these movies. But if he's already over that, then okay, it's time to move on.
That stuff's real.
It's time to let him grow. So, a spoiler alert for all you kids out there who still believe in Santa. Anyways, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for listening to Daniel and Gian react to it. Check out some of our other podcasts. They'll be up on the screen at some point. We also do reaction videos. Check those out. This is going to be on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, SoundCloud. If you prefer the audio to video version of this, make sure to leave comments and share. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All that stuff's going to be in the description. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.